our locations at Pro Club that offers a participant the ability to get the same increase of heart rate and rhythm of high intensity interval training, as well as that strength element with medium weights for high repetition, like you would get in a regular circuit training class. However, we use the step. So we have quite a few members who absolutely love using the step, and they love step aerobics. And while I absolutely love it as well, and it was one of the first few formats I started teaching and subbing, which also required me to learn how to hear and feel the beat of the music, it was one of the first formats that really helped me understand the 8 count and the way music is mapped. So I will definitely be doing a lot of videos on understanding musicality. However, this video will be to give you some ideas as someone who may not be an expert at step aerobics, which is definitely me, and how I build a class. This could be a great format to use if you are required or asked by your manager in a pinch to sub a step class. I think any step aerobics participant understands that the industry is changing a lot, and it's really hard to find instructors that are able to teach this class well. So I recommend if you're ever going to plan a step class, which I have done this evening, make it really, really simple, and then you can always play with the tempo and the choreography as you go. Okay, so the first thing I want to explain to you is how I built my class. It is, again, step circuit. We want to incorporate some strength training as well as the cardiovascular element of using this step. I am definitely going to be teaching this class to the beat of the music. However, I would say that you could do this as an interval program where you teach with time-based. This, the way I set it up is we start with a warm-up. Again, it's 55 minutes. So the warm-up will be about 7 minutes long, 5 to 7 minutes long. I start without the step. So I do a lot of like reverse lunges, or even at the beginning, actually, I tend to always start with a nice reach across the body. What I'm teaching tonight is an evening class, and a lot of the time the people who are coming to class have been sitting all day, and they need to really break up their spine a little bit. Then we start to reach side to side, really starting to reach overhead, because that's, again, a very functional movement that they need to bring their body into before we start doing any other upper body movements that day. Then I start to do some side movements. So in the warm-up, I'm rehearsing what's about to come, but then I start to introduce the step later on. We also want to make sure we're moving in different directions off of the step so that when they actually have to approach the step, they've already gone through some different directions on the floor. So I might do some just taps to start with that music. We start, of course, introducing the basic. I have 2 risers on this step just because I was nervous with the camera and the angle I wanted as to how high it would need to be so you can see it. However, they can always do 1. You can, of course, as the instructor, always use 1 riser, or you can absolutely use no risers, just you and the step, and I promise you'll still be able to show them what they need to know. So, because I, as someone who's not necessarily a step aerobics enthusiast who knows everything about step, I definitely need a lower riser if possible, because it tends to get in my way a little bit because I like to move quickly. So like I said, I just kind of introduce the step. Choose movements that are going to just introduce the step. Maybe you just do a side lunge to the step, something to just touch the step but not necessarily build too much choreography in the beginning. What you might be thinking is, what kind of speed, or might be questioning, what kind of speed of music should we use? Definitely choose music that is ongoing. It never stops, so it's music that's continuous so that you can keep up with it. And the other recommendation I would make is to go no higher or faster than 132 beats per minute, I think would be the speed I would go. Especially if you're trying to teach a more basic class, so that you can keep up with the music and your participants can keep up with the music if they're newer to step. You want to make sure everyone's successful, and then always layer in those exercises where you can add the jumps and get nice and crazy and fancy. And the people who are masters at step aerobics will do their own thing. They'll add a spin, they'll add a kick, they'll add all kinds of cool stuff that you wouldn't have even thought about. So, how I built the formats. That was the warm-up, thinking about different ranges of motion with the spine, maybe add some rotation, stepping and moving in different ways, starting on the floor and then starting to introduce the step. We We want it to be dynamic, it should not be static, and we don't want to start jumping necessarily in the first 7 or so minutes. Then once you've introduced the step, I have chosen 4 different movements to use the step, 4 different exercises that are basically combinations on the step. And I'll go through each one in a little bit. But then after those 4 movements, I plan on spending and layering into those 4 combos on the step for about 10 minutes, and then moving into some strength. So I would say, again, 7-ish minutes to move into strength. Then we grab the dumbbells, and the first set of strength, I'm just gonna focus on exercises that are bicep-based, back-based, and deadlift-based. So they're upright, and they're working more the back of the body, incorporating those biceps as well. Then we go into 4 new combinations on the step, bringing their heart rate back up, feeling that change in intensity. And that next set of exercises is more, I do side facing at that point, and I may add some more like elevated jumps, so we're bringing up the intensity. Then on the second set of strength, it's more tricep extension. You can do that overhead, you can do it out to the side. High repetition strength training, do some triceps. I move into maybe some tricep dips on the step is good too, overhead presses, push-ups, and then squats. So we did deadlifts on that one earlier, and then I tend to do some squats. Because a lot of the stepping up and down on the step is going to feel and work and look like a lunge. So they've gotten the lunge in there. And I always incorporate lunges in my warm-up too. Then the last 4, cardiovascular exercises. So we're probably about, you do all the math, and for the strength I spend about 5 to 7 minutes. So we're about 45 minutes in once we get through this last set of 4 cardio exercises, maybe a little over that, it's almost 50. 50 as in 50 minutes in. These last 4 incorporate a little more athleticism, and they are more hands on the step or in a plank position, because we're building them into getting ready for some core work. So the next 4 exercises I have are like mountain climber type movements. Then they are going to come up onto the step, do some movements standing, so they're not here for very long. Then I'm going to bring them back down to the ground, do some more kind of plank jack type of movements, then have them come back up and do some side lateral movements. Then I'm gonna push them for this last one because it's their last chance to get that heart rate up before we bring them down to the floor. What do you think about when you start to bring people down for core work after you've brought their heart rate up? Is you should slowly think about bringing them down from standing. So not necessarily go from a high intensity crazy interval to laying on their back and doing sit-ups or any kind of Pilates roll up or exercise, because it can really make your equilibrium and energy feel off. So you want to gradually make them come down, especially if it's later at night like my classes tonight. They could have potentially not eaten anything for a long time. So we want to make sure we bring them down slowly for the core work. Then my cool down incorporates nice stretching elements, and I of course incorporate my cool down language that I tend to use in all of my formats that you can catch in another cool down video on my YouTube channel. But that is the bare bones of the actual class. Cool down, done. Told you guys about the BPMs. I'm choosing to go at about 128 tonight, so it's much slower, but I know I can give them lots of options to bring it up. And I know this group is definitely newer to step, not as much as advanced. So, okay, I had to find a different camera angle because I absolutely love these fall colors that I have behind me tonight at the Seattle Club. So, and I'm hoping I can still kind of contrast the video so you can still see me as I teach the exercises. But I'd like to show you the exercises I've chosen for tonight's class. So as I said, I build the 4 cardio exercises on the step. They're simple, pretty basic step exercises. So the first exercise that I chose with that music playing, and you can imagine it, is just to jog up and down. So you can start with, of course, a basic, and you're gonna see people start to use their arms like this if they're traditional steppers. And then you can start to ask them to lift up those knees a little bit. You're still on that beat of the music, but you're turning it into a jog. After 8 counts on one leg, pre-cue them into the other side. After we finish the other side, my next exercise will have them come back down, maybe you march in the transition to go into repeater knees is what I have next. So repeater knee is just simply the inside foot. So I call it whatever leg where your hip is turned toward the step. The inside foot stays on the step. So in this case, my left leg, if I'm mirroring my class, to say left leg on that step, right leg comes up for 3, 2, 1, come down, dismount, switch, 3, 2, 1. So if you're with the music, it's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's why there's 3 of them. Then I'm going to build them. We're already in this kind of side position that I want to take advantage of 2 flick kicks and a knee. So it's going to look like this. 2 flick kicks, come down and knee. 2 flick kicks, come down and knee. So then you need to dismount, come back up, 2 kicks, down, opposite knee comes up. That's how we're transitioning between those 2. If I had music, it'd be better to kind of teach you that. The 4th exercise of these, so I'm going into that last one. If once their leg is lifted, we can quickly transition into 3 taps in. So I'm turning and facing this way. 3 taps in, just meaning you're supporting the body on the step with that inside foot. 3 taps in, 3 tap up, go up and over. So I'm having them come down low in a squat for 3, 2, 1, up and over. 3, 2, 1, in, up and over. 3, 2, 1, up and over. 3, 2, 1, up and over. And I'll be honest, in a step, because I'm not so used to teaching it, there are a lot of times I get kind of lost in the music a little bit, and I have to keep going past that 8 count. After I teach each one and we go for a while, if I can, and if I feel like everyone's getting it, I tend to, you obviously want to make sure you're working both sides evenly as well, so I try to choose things that are 2-sided. Make sure you're helping them build the choreography if you can. So maybe you put everything together. You start with a jog leading with that right leg, then you go up for that repeater knee on that right leg. You would of course follow the 8 count, do that repeater knee, go for your 3, then go into other side, 2 flick kicks, dismount, knee, and then you can go right into your in, out, up and over. Maybe you even get so advanced that you turn them around, they're facing the other way, and you start the other side. That would be really intense. I'm really excited. If you have a more advanced class and if you have time to practice this, be my guest. Those are our first 4 exercises. Then I have them calm down, grab the weights. We're just going to start with, as I said earlier, biceps. We have our weights over here. Always make sure that they're away from their step. We're going from bicep curls, then I'm planning on taking them into deadlifts. So hips go back. My favorite cue here is to imagine shutting a car door behind them so they keep that spine really long, and it becomes less about, oh, gotta reach to the floor, then more about their hips going back. So we want that to be the focus. And then last but not least, having them do some rowing. Then I'm going to have them go into their second set of cardio work on the step. First thing that they're going to do are side kicks, going over the long side. So I just want it to look like literally a kickboxing kick. You could start this off of the step, which I recommend. Pretend like they're going up and over. Kick, tap, up and over. Kick, down, up and over. So on the step it looks like this. Kick, down, up and over. Kick, down. But notice how much longer they have to go from the step. You could give them the option of going this way too. Just a kick. Maybe you go as in-depth as chambering that kick, teaching them the correct way to kick. Then you go up and over, landing soft. Next, we go into all chain ham curls. So whatever side they in with, I cue to pull, hamstring, heel to the glute. All chain. You could turn this into a repeater in itself. Up for 3, 2, 1, and switch. You could also turn this into an extension so the leg stays long. And you lift up for 3, 2, 1, switch sides, or you just do singles. 3 or singles. Then I have them doing Charleston kicks. Since this one's more movement around the step and I'm incorporating some kickboxing type movements, Charleston kick is just going to be one foot on the step, the other leg comes off, kick, step back, tap. Step up with the inside foot, kick, back, tap, back. Up, up, down, down. You can increase the intensity by reaching for the step or adding a hop at the top or doing both. That one's intense. So you can have them do maybe 3 on one side, 3 on the other side, move them around. Next, I have side-facing step with reaches. So we're side-facing here. It's basically, I think they call this a lunge in traditional step classes, but you're tapping the floor side to side, and then I start to build into the arms. So we can reach up overhead, or we can reach across. Or maybe we alternate. We go up for 2, across for 2. But that one's a really fun one. Definitely gets the heart rate up too. Whew. Then we go into our next round of strength. Maybe we repeat everything right next to each other, back to back, if you have a more advanced class. Last but not least, last set of strength training, focusing on the triceps. I have some overhead presses in here, and then you can have them put the weights either on their shoulders or down here, get some squats in. And I tend to, since the step is here, add in some offset squats. So I'll usually have them put the weights next to their hips, squat down, come up. And what this does is it keeps one leg shortened the entire time, so it's actually working a little bit harder. It's kind of like we're pulsing on this side, and this leg's getting the full range of motion. And then you can change sides. Okay, last set of cardio. I kind of demoed most of it at the intro of this video, but after we've done those triceps, presses, squats, we're into mountain climbers. We can do this with the music. Then we come up, and I have up jacks, down jacks. You can really easily incorporate mountain climbers with that. Up, jack, down, jack. Up, jack, down, jack. You can do the same leg going up and down, or you can do the opposite leg. Then we have plank jacks. So hands on the step, open, close, opening up the feet, closing the feet. And then last but not least, I have skater hops. So you can have them tap the bench or come close to the bench, or they can come all the way down, reaching for the step. After that, I use the step for some bridging, lifting the hips up. You can also use the step for some elevation. I would say also, so I said to keep the heart rate up and then bring them down to the floor slowly. Maybe you go into planks first. So you just finished your plank jacks or your skater hops. You hold them in that plank, and then you can alternate that side plank. Then their heart rate starts to come back down more. Maybe you go in some side dips. Maybe you do some reaches underneath. Then you can bring them down into that glute bridge. So like I said earlier, slowly bring them down to the floor. You have just enough time to cool them down, stretch them out, and say goodnight and say thank you for coming to my step class. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I really hope it's useful because, as I said, you don't have to be an expert on steps to each step. Definitely try to find the 8 count and that be the music. You could, of course, do this in intervals. Each exercise would just be so many seconds long, and then incorporate some cool down in between and rest, or you could just go straight into the next exercise. But I really, really value the ability to teach the beat of the music. So thank you for tuning in, and I really, again, hope it helps you.